Well, hello everybody, and thanks for joining me today on this live share. And my topic of conversation is based on a new book that I've just read called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Some of you have maybe heard of this book, but I thought it was a brilliant insight into how to deal with conflicts and how to deal with difficult situations. So tonight I'm just taking an extract from the book and applying it to the walk that we have with pain, and because at the end of the day, the toughest communication I think that we can have is with ourselves. We can have challenges with other people, but if we can master ourselves and the inner journey and the mind, then we can optimize a less stressed brain and therefore a less programmed brain for chronic pain. Non-violent communication is all about being alive, and I've really tapped into that concept in the last couple of weeks and just listening to different speakers, podcasters, and it's come up several times about this thing about being alive. For me, it's all about being the present moment and just feeling that connection with whatever it may be. It could be my son's sitting over there reading his book. Maybe it's sitting down and being quiet for a minute and having a snack, or hanging out with my dogs. But just being present in the moment is really important and very helpful for this healing of a chronic pain state. So when we think about nonviolent communication with the self, it really ties in with slowing down and watching our self-talk. Well, what is the self-talk that you have? Are you seeing things like, yeah, I make mistakes. I shouldn't have had that mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Or, I'm just stupid. Why do I keep doing that? So using the word stupid against ourselves is very harmful. It's very violent. The saying that I do things wrong, or I'm bad. And these are very common things when people are more perfectionist in tendencies. And really, we should give up that concept of being perfect, because it just creates that negative self-talk in our mind. One of the goals of the journey of chronic pain is to enrich your life, to focus on the positive, and to go beyond the negative, and to go beyond the pain into what else is going on. Staying away from shame and guilt, because these are responses, emotions that are very low in the emotional scale, that just contribute to ongoing struggle and suffering. So a few tips for us is to avoid the shoulds. I should do this, I should do that. I should tidy up the house more, or I should get to work on time more, or whatever it could be. It's just, well, we can make changes, sure, but if we just take away the shoulds, we analyze, evaluate the situation, then we can move into a place where we're causing ourselves less stress. So avoid shoulds as much as possible on the daily walk in the mind. Another one is must-dos. Now, you people out there with kids, I know some of you do have kids, it's really important, I've found, that if we move away from the I must do this and I must do that, or should do this, should do that, have to do this, have to do that, because this brings up resentment, and we're losing touch with our inner self and our inner peace when that is the case. So really important to have that self-analysis on, and to be monitoring these things. My recommendation would be to write down these recurrent thoughts that come up and that makes you feel a little bit not so good. That emotional scale is there, and one of the purposes is, if you're low in the emotional scale, to, for example, if you've got depression or shame or guilt feelings, is you got to move up the scale. Move towards contentment and peace. Even indifference is better. Anxiety is better than depression. depression is better than despair. Despair is better than suicide. So essentially, we're moving up the emotional scale, and that's your indication from your soul of where you're at. So if we're moving up the scale, we're feeling better, and that is the key to having a happier life. So self-evaluation, and it comes down to this, and this is what the essence of the non-violent communication. It's about your needs, and it's about your feelings. So the feelings you can monitor, and they're always there, coming and going, as an indicator of how you're getting on. And those needs, right? Maybe you need to go to bed earlier. Maybe you need to do less tidying up, maybe not more. Maybe you need to do more than less, who knows? But it's the needs within us that if they're being met, we're generally happy, and if they're not being met, then we get these negative emotions. Anger is a common one that I'm sure you experience. So I really appreciated the insight, because Marshall Rosenberg, he grew up in Detroit around much violence. I think in 1 month in the riots in the 1960s, there was like 30 people died in his neighborhood in was it a month or a week? And it really taught him to ask the question, well, why is there so much violence? And after his 9 years of PhD in psychology studies, he didn't have the answer. And he went to his professor and he says, well, what else? What about this violence, and how can we think better? How can we communicate better? And he was encouraged to go off in the world and find the answer. And not only did he go and find the answer, but he's been used by governments around the world and tribal groups around the world to resolve conflict. He's been in Africa, he's been in Europe, he's been all over the world, and also in his home areas in the US, just helping to create an environment of non-violence through communication. And if we look at being alive, if we look at the goal of being alive and aliveness, and we look at our needs and emotions, then we can master this. So I hope you've enjoyed this tonight. It's been a little bit of a different subject, but it ties into reducing stress in the brain and being aware. What do we actually operate from? Because most of us are coming from conditionings from childhood and from the people in our lives, and if it's not working out for you, you'll easily know because of feelings, negative feelings, but then you can choose a different way, a different path. So if you want to read the book, it's called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Phenomenal book, phenomenal piece of work he's done over his lifetime. So thanks so much for listening. It's good to see you all, and I'll see you next week. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.